Imagine an ordinary person, someone we all know. She spends her days focused on her responsibilities. She works hard, seeks a healthy life, but at the end of each day, when she enters the house, she is faced with silence. Friends seem distant, love relationships have failed, and suddenly loneliness becomes a constant, almost palpable presence. This emptiness, which often goes unnoticed by others, gradually begins to erode their well-being, impacting even the most trivial parts of everyday life. Have you ever felt this way? Have you ever been through a cycle of superficial interactions, where, no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't truly connect with anyone? It's not a rare feeling. The most interesting thing is that many of us live this reality without even realizing how deeply it can affect us. If you relate, stay here with me, because today we're going to take a deep dive into what truly defines our intimate relationships and how we can build meaningful bonds. I'm going to share practical insights, real-life examples, and deep reflections to help you change this reality. But before you start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. That way, I'll know that this type of content is relevant to you, and together, we can build something even bigger. Intimate relationships are those that allow us to be who we really are, without masks or disguises. Unlike a superficial friendship or casual contact, intimate relationships are deep and involve vulnerability and trust. Imagine a friend to whom you can tell your greatest fears without fear of judgment. Or a loving partner with whom you feel you can be totally authentic. These are the relationships that really matter. Think about a time in your life when you were surrounded by people you loved, with whom you felt genuinely connected. How was your feeling of happiness and security at that time? Studies show that people with strong interpersonal connections tend to be happier and even live longer. This is because healthy relationships not only provide us with moments of joy, but also create a network of emotional support in times of difficulty. But how can we expect to create healthy relationships if we don't know who we really are? Epictetus, in the book The Art of Living, emphasizes that self-knowledge is the first step towards inner peace. Think of a situation in which you reacted impulsively, without understanding your emotions well. How many times have these moments not damaged an important relationship? When we know our weaknesses and strengths, we can avoid these mistakes and act more consciously and empathetically with those we love. Imagine a person who lives insecure, always comparing themselves to others. Naturally, this insecurity spills over into your relationships. She may become possessive, jealous, or even distant, afraid of not being enough. On the other hand, someone with solid self-esteem can relate in a more balanced way, because they know their value. Working on building healthy self-esteem is essential to create stronger and more lasting bonds. In his book How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie reminds us of something simple but often overlooked: listening is the key to good communication. Imagine the following situation: you're talking to someone, but they're more concerned with responding than actually listening to what you have to say. This has already happened to you, right? How did that make you feel? Now, reverse the roles. If you give your full attention to the other, listening actively, without interrupting, you create a safe space for the person to open up. Trust increases, and so does the quality of the relationship. Expressing our feelings clearly and respectfully is another crucial skill. How many times has a simple misunderstanding generated an unnecessary conflict? By being transparent about what we feel and avoiding accusations, we can avoid burnout. Brené Brown says that being vulnerable is not weakness, but an act of courage. Do you remember the last time you shared something really intimate with someone? That moment of hesitation before speaking, fearing judgment? The truth is that the more we open up and show who we really are, the more we allow the other to do the same. This is how the deepest connections are created. Trust is the foundation of any intimate relationship. And how do you build this? Through small, consistent actions. Being honest about your feelings, keeping your promises, and being present in difficult times are attitudes that strengthen the bond with the other. Think of a friend who has always been there for you, through thick and thin. What has this consistency generated among you? Probably an unshakable confidence. Conflicts are part of life. Marcus Aurelius, in Meditations, teaches us that we have no control over the actions of others, only over our reactions. This leads us to reflect, how do we react to a conflict? Imagine a heated argument with someone important. Instead of letting emotions dominate, stopping, breathing, and responding rationally can completely change the course of the conversation. This does not mean suppressing what we feel, but rather dealing with situations wisely and thoughtfully. When facing a conflict, try to listen to the other party with empathy before responding. This not only disarms the other, but also shows that you value what they have to say. Instead of pouring gasoline on the fire, you can extinguish it with a simple gesture of understanding. Have you ever tried stopping and asking to hear the other's point of view during a fight? Often, this act alone can solve half of the problem. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in the place of the other. Imagine a friend who is going through a difficult situation and, instead of offering immediate advice, you try to understand what he is feeling. Roman Krasnarek, in The Power of Empathy, teaches us that this simple act can create a stronger emotional bridge than anything else. When people feel understood, they connect more deeply. A practical way to cultivate empathy in everyday life is to ask yourself, how would I feel if I were in this person's shoes? Another powerful practice is to listen without the intention of responding, but only to understand. Try this in your next conversation and realize the difference it makes. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces in any relationship. Think of an everyday situation. You come home after a long day at work, and your partner has prepared your favorite meal or tidied up the house without you asking. How do you feel when you notice these small gestures? A simple thank you may seem trivial, but the truth is that gratitude reinforces the importance we give to the other. By expressing recognition, you solidify the bonds in a way that small day-to-day frustrations don't have as much impact. An effective way to cultivate gratitude is to make it a daily habit. How about taking a few minutes at the end of the day to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for in your relationship? It can be something simple, such as a gesture of affection, a word of support, or even the patience of the other person in a moment of tension. Regular practice of gratitude not only strengthens the bond, but it also helps us focus on the positive aspects of the relationship instead of fixating on the problems. Quality time doesn't necessarily mean being physically present all the time, but rather truly dedicating yourself when you're together. In the fast pace of everyday life, it's easy to fall into a rut, where shared time becomes mechanical and unintentional. But think about how you feel when someone you love takes the time to be really present with you, without distractions, without rushing. This creates memories that strengthen the relationship in the long run. How about creating small rituals that promote moments of connection? It can be something simple, like a game night every week, or a walk through the park on the weekends. These small gestures help keep the flame of connection alive. A practical example is turning off cell phones during meals and using this time to talk about the day. Technology often disconnects us even when we are physically together. By setting these boundaries, you create opportunities to be truly present. Stephen Covey, in the classic The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, highlights the importance of mutual growth in a relationship. But for a couple to grow together, it is equally important that each one grows individually. Imagine a situation in which both are always looking for improvement, whether at work, in studies, or even in personal hobbies. This individual development reflects positively on the relationship, as each one feels fulfilled and more sure of themselves. A couple that grows together builds a supportive and encouraging partnership, where the success of one becomes the victory of both. Nothing is more empowering in a relationship than mutual support. Think about a challenging phase you have faced and how the support of someone close to you has made all the difference. However, support does not mean solving the other's problems, but being by the side, encouraging, and showing that the journey can be less arduous when shared. For example, if your partner is pursuing a new career, showing empathy, offering advice without pressure, or simply being present can create a positive and productive growth environment. Often, the word boundary is associated with something negative, but in fact, boundaries are essential to preserve the health of any relationship. They are not walls, but borders that protect the space and well-being of each one. Imagine that you need some time to yourself after a long day, but the other wants to talk or interact. Knowing how to communicate this in a respectful way and understanding when the other also needs space avoids resentment and maintains emotional balance in the relationship. Communicating boundaries is an art, and it can be done without creating barriers. A practical example would be something like, "I need some time to relax, but then we can talk about it." This demonstrates care for one's own well-being without devaluing the desire of the other. Respecting the limits of others is equally important. When we understand and accept the space that the other needs, we promote a more balanced and healthy relationship. In relationships, as in life, there are no easy paths or ready-made formulas. Every step we take, every gesture we make, builds or destroys the bridge that connects us to the other. Empathy, gratitude, and vulnerability are the pillars that support this bridge, and it is the daily practice of these virtues that leads us to build something lasting. If you feel like you can do more for your relationships, now is the time. Small changes in your behavior can have a huge impact on the quality of your connections. And remember, love, friendship, and intimacy are not ready-made feelings. They are daily constructions, brick by brick, gesture by gesture. If you like this content and want to learn more about how to improve your relationships in your own life, click on the videos that are appearing on your screen right now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, so I will know that this type of reflection makes a difference for you. I'll wait for you in the next video.